I want us to engage our panelists here in studio because they'll be helping us walk about the state of IEBC at the moment. Ivan Sogara is an advocate of the High Court. Dr. Alphonse Kanga is the chairperson of NCCK Nairobi region. And Dr. Ekuru Okot is the party lead of the Third Way Alliance. Dr. Okot, let me begin with you. What exactly do we have today when you're talking about the IEBC? What do we have?
So there are two arguments to make. Number one, we actually have an IEBC, constitutionally and legally speaking, because IEBC is an institution. What we do not have are the commissioners. A lot of people are confusing the idea that because we do not have commissioners, we do not have the institution of the IEBC. And they need to refer to Chapter 15 of the Constitution of Kenya. There is an IEBC. So we have a secretariat currently without commissioners. And that secretariat undertakes certain functions. For example, the continuous registration of voters and carrying the activities of the electoral management body. Okay? For example, you don't need commissioners to register voters. That is done by the secretariat because the secretariat is a functioning arm of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, right. The IEBC. So it's a fallacy to say that we do not have an IEBC. Okay. We do have an IEBC. Secondly, the absence of commissioners does not necessarily mean that we do not have a commission in place. Because, for example, the Supreme Court of Kenya, I think, has made certain decisions about the principle of, I mean, Ogada can remind me about this, necessity. In the absence, I mean, of say, for example, so we have, for example, Marijan, the CEO, right? Who actually sits as a commissioner in ex officio capacity. So,
though he sits in the commission as secretary.
Yeah, but he's a commissioner in ex officio capacity. Okay, so meaning therefore that under the principle of necessity, certain functions must happen. Okay, let's come to the realpolitik. When, for example, Kindiki Kithure was nominated as a deputy president, right? Purportedly, he was cleared by an IEBC. Okay. So which IEBC actually cleared Kindiki Kithure?
And we'll get to that question. We'll get to it. We're just starting the conversation, Dr. Dr. Kanga, tell me, what risks do you see if we're to continue 22 months later, we don't have commissioners appointed to those offices?
In my opinion, what I say, as he said, my colleague says here that we have an IEBC, but what we are saying here is there is lack of transparency, there is lack of clarity, especially to Anjiko, the normal mwananchi, to understand exactly what's happening. Because the lawyers have a language there. But as far as we are concerned as laymen, what we know that there is a lot of unfairness. The fact that there's no IEBC, the youth want to register so that they can become, they want to get IDs and participate in the justice system of their country, but they will not be unable if the IEBC is not in place. But since he's saying there's an IEBC, 50-50 I might say, yes, we have an IEBC because recently we have a deputy president who came in through the same systems. Whether it's right or not, I'm not a lawyer. But the normal mwananchi, there are a lot of the registration which is supposed to be going on. Why it's not happening? We don't understand.
All right, we'll get
there's a narrative we need to stop.
Dr. Sorry. Allow me, because
I want Ogada to comment on what I'm about to say.
What is the narrative that you don't like?
Listen, we need to stop this narrative that there is no IEBC.
Okay.
I don't know what Ogada would say.
I've heard you. Now, Wakili Ogada, so there are different interpretations here. Then what I'll ask you is, what can IEBC do or not do as currently constituted?
Well, Marjan, the secretary or the CEO, heads the administrative component of IEBC. So as my good friend and senior Dr. Okot says, there is an IEBC, only that we have a handicap. For example, we cannot conduct the by-elections, which require substantive commissioners appointed in conformity with Article 88 as read with 89. We also need substantive commissioners for the purposes of boundary reviews to happen. And that is why there is a matter that has been instituted at the Supreme Court, an advisory opinion by the Secretariat, seeking answers from the Supreme Court as to what is the fate of boundary review in the absence of substantive commissioners, given that the timelines have basically effluxed. So we wait for the Supreme Court to give us its answers, but certainly there are handicaps existing already.
Okay, all right. And there's so much to cover tonight because we'll also be looking at the other functions of the IEBC, which include voter education, the voter registration that Dr. Okot is talking about here, but also regulation of campaign financing and so much more. Be sure to catch that. But